welcome to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. This episode is part of our Free Expression Friday series, an interview series from ABA's American Booksellers for Free Expression, celebrating the amazing work of booksellers, organizers, and book people in general, fighting for the right to read.
Hi, this is Philomena from ABFI. Now more than ever, independent bookstores need to stand up for the right to read in their communities. I'm coming to you with a story from Rutherford County, Tennessee, where the Spine Bookshop collaborated with the local Library Alliance to organize against book bans and built from there to create a safe space and an organizing center for their community. It's also a story of how bad things have gotten and how much work there is to do. So if you're not in a place today to receive that, this might not be the episode for you. The story begins with Lindsay Schultz, the owner and operator of the Spine Bookshop, who created that space because she wanted to see somewhere like it in her community.
My name is Lindsay Schultz, and I run the Spine Bookshop. And I started it on my 45th birthday after I got laid off. And my very good friend Tammy kind of gave me a swift kick in the butt that I needed to start what I'd been dreaming about doing my whole life. We really cater to local authors. That was our big thing, and that we still do that. But now it's also kind of been something where I want representation to be important as well. So I've been trying really hard to grow my LGBTQ section and my African American section, and not just like the stereotypical authors, but like I tell people all the time, if there's an author that you don't see on my shelf that you think that I should have on my shelf, tell me and I will go get it. And yeah, we're all about inclusion and representation and making sure that books are free for everybody and that you have access to them and that you can buy a book that you can see yourself in. That's important.
Schultz isn't alone in wanting to do this work, nor are bookstores the only ones in town who want to make sure that everyone can see themselves reflected in literature. There are also librarians and the advocates who support those librarians.
My name is Keri Lambert. I'm the vice president of RCLA, Rutherford County Library Alliance.
Keri Lambert and the rest of the RCLA saw an urgent need for advocacy when a law was passed in Tennessee in 2022 and then amended in 2024, making it much easier to ban books in a discriminatory way.
Well, that's the Age-Appropriate Materials Act, in which they changed some of the language, which actually is what makes it unconstitutional, because in order to restrict access to information, the material has to reach an extremely high bar of obscenity. Obscenity is one of those words that everyone goes, well, I know it when I see it. But when you try to define it, it's extremely difficult. So that's when the Supreme Court came up with the Miller test, which is a 3-prong test. And 2 of the 3 prongs emphasize taken as a whole, which means from the front cover to the back cover. And you can't cherry pick a word, a sentence, a paragraph, a chapter, whatever. It has to be that the only reason that work exists is basically to offend people. That's the bar that you have to reach.
It's bad enough that the law is incredibly restrictive, but it's also so vague that it's thrown school boards into a state of confusion.
And what concerns me the most is our school board banned Beloved, and they are trying to follow the state law, but the state law was written in such a vague manner that the vagueness doctrine absolutely comes into play. And anyone who doubts that, I encourage you to go to the Rutherford County TV YouTube channel and check out the school board meeting from September 19th and listen to the discussion. I mean, of course, listen to the public comments. That's a whole other story that was cray-cray, but listen to the discussion. They don't know why they're voting to remove or keep the book. And the question was actually asked, are we voting based on the obscenity laws, or are we voting on the age-appropriate material law? And the board member who had challenged it said sexually explicit and refused to answer. And when the board members asked the school board lawyer for advice, He refused to answer. And it got to a point that one of our school board members actually had to leave the room and try to call a lawyer to figure out what was going on. I mean, it is absolute chaos. They don't know what they're doing. That was terrifying. I've never really seen much like it. Our librarians were being threatened and harassed to the point, like one board member standing up violently so his chair pushes out and slamming his hands on the desk, demanding the name of the librarian that put a book in the library. And there were huge crowds and cameras. And I mean, you could hear the audible gasp in the room when he started behaving that way. And our librarians are highly educated. They're very experienced. They understand collection development, which is something I don't think our school board members or the general public understands what it means to develop a collection. So they've basically taken all of the experts out of the picture, and they're just using their personal opinions and the opinion of certain churches in the area that have decided this is their fight. They want to get all of the child pornography, such as Oh David, Wacky Wednesday, Pinkalicious, that child pornography, out of our libraries.
When Lambert's colleague at RCLA reached out to Schultz, she knew she had to get involved. The very idea of banning books offended her to her core.
As I said, I've been a ferocious reader my entire life. And I've never been told I can't read something. I've always, if I want to read it, I just go get it, right? And I said I would love to speak out about that. I'm not okay with that. I think I rewrote what I typed out and what I was going to say probably 5 times, because I was very aware that I was walking into a situation that might be tenuous. And I wanted to make sure that what I said was that I sounded educated and impassioned, but also very respectful. Respectful was the biggest thing for me.
Little did Schultz know she would be walking into an incredibly contentious meeting, one combative beyond anything she had ever heard of. On one side was RCLA wearing purple, and on the other, in white, was a group led by someone known locally as the book-banning pastor. Things had become more contentious even than what Lambert was expecting.
Again, there's a certain segment of the population, a very vocal minority of the population, that show up dressed all in white and seem to think that the public comment section is really just an opportunity to preach. And the congregation reacts. So you've got people talking out of turn, and they're threatening, intimidating, name calling. On October 24th, we had teenagers, which it has been brought to my attention, that are not in Rutherford County schools. They're actually homeschooled children, that during public comments were referencing board members by their first name, saying horrific things to them, calling them names, calling some of the men on the board beta boys. They aren't real men. They're beta boys. And the things they were saying, it's hard to put into words. I know I sound like a crazy person when I talk about it, because we can't believe that this is our reality. But once people actually attend the meeting, they look at me with their big eyes going, oh my Lord, I had no idea it was really this bad.
This was the meeting Schultz walked into, but she spoke up anyway.
Oh God, I was so nervous. I thought I was going to throw up, because I could just, the vibe in the room immediately was just tense, and you could tell there were people staring at people, and I was talking to the RCLA people, and I introduced myself, and we were all just like, okay, we're going to do this, and Tiffany just knew right out of the bat, they're going to ban the books. No matter what we say, it's not going to matter, but we got to say it anyway. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So when they called my name, I went up there and I said what I had to say. And when I turned around to walk back, I got dagger stared at the whole way back to my seat. And I thought what I said was very respectful. And I feel like some of the other comments by some of the other people that were not RCLA were not respectful, or they were a little aggressive. And like they had this one man who turned around and kept yelling, this is pornography, and they read the same passage, like 4 or 5 people read the same passage from The Perks of Being a Wallflower over and over and over again. And it's like, okay, we get it. This, but you're reading this much of the book when this is the book, But every time that we would get up to speak, the RCLA people, or there was a lawyer and there was a librarian, whenever we got up to speak, it felt like to me that the other side was very aggressive and rude and kept trying to disrupt what we were saying. And when we got up to leave, I was with my friend and we tried to walk out the door, because you walk out of the big room and you walk out one door into the lobby, and then you have to walk out the door from the lobby to outside. So when we went to go walk out the door into the lobby, a couple people from the other side were standing there, and we practically had to elbow our way out of the room. And then the guy who was yelling at everybody and calling us all pornographers and this is, whatever and whatever, he was pacing out in the lobby and stopped when we walked out and just glared at us. So she and I kind of said, let's just walk to my car together and I'll drive you to your car. And she said, yeah, I think that would be great. And it was very unnerving because you'd have thought we had done something, like you'd have thought it was a court trial and we were the defendants that got off from some horrific crime, the way we were being treated. It was unnerving, but word got back to me that a comment was made by the group that was trying to ban the books that we have to do something about that bookstore. And that got back to me and it was, what? Like, seriously? Tiffany, put it out on social media that certain people wanted to disrupt my business because I was speaking out. And I've had a lot of people show up and support me. And I cannot begin to thank people enough for doing that. And then when Wilson County decided to pull, I think, over 400 plus books out of their school district, I got really mad. And it just made me think, like, what can I do with my anger at this injustice of pulling books out of, what can I do that would be a positive outcome? Like, how can I positively and be helpful and channel my anger at this in a better, more positive way? So I started the Banned Book Brigade project. I pulled the list of Wilson County's banned book list and Rutherford County's banned book list, and I put them on my website. And the initiative is that if you buy the books and you donate them to the shop, or you donate money to the shop and I go get the books, whatever those books that are associated with that donation are going into a box that's sitting outside in my shop, and you can have them for free. I'm not taking a single cent off any of the donated books, because for me, it's more important that people have access to those books. I'll make money on everything else in the store, but those particular books, I want to make sure that people have access to them. And so we've had a couple people come by the last couple of days and have kind of, oh my God, thank you so much. I haven't been able to find this book. Well, now you can, And so what we need at the Spine is donate the banned books or donate money so we can keep buying the banned books, because I unfortunately cannot keep buying the books myself. That's not feasible. And because, this is it. The Spine, it's just me. Like, I'm it. I do everything. And I have 2 interns that help me. God love them, because if I didn't have them, there's some days that I would be like, I don't have enough time to do the things that I need to do, but they've been so helpful and they're in on this with me. And, the RCLA has really guided me on a lot of stuff on how to do things, and it's helped me figure out. And then you guys have as well. So I literally have a whole notebook I printed out the entire banned book toolkit, and I've been reading it and going through, and it gave me the idea to do a sit-in. So on December 1st, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., we're going to do a sit-in in the Spine. I told everybody, bring your snackies, bring your blankies, bring some water, bring your favorite brand book, and we're just going to camp out and sit on the floor and sit on chairs and just read banned books and be present and show that we're not going to go quietly. And so that's kind of what I've been doing, because I can't look my friends in the face in the LGBTQ community, in the African American community, in the Asian community. I can't look people in the face if I don't try to fight back a little bit. Somebody's got to do it. And I didn't go into the book business thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to pick a fight and this is the hill I'm going to die on. But it was just, it only takes one person to start a movement. And I guess that's what I'm trying to do. And hopefully I can encourage people to join the train of fighting back.
Schultz wasn't alone, and neither are you. As book bans get worse, and they will, the most important thing is banding together, working with our allies, and finding ways to fight back. Thank you to Lindsay Schultz of the Spine Bookshop and Keri Lambert of the Rutherford County Library Alliance.
Thank you for listening to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Additional educational resources can always be found on the ABA website at www.bookweb.org. Happy reading!